You're listening to the Author Stories Podcast, bringing you the story behind the stories and the storytellers.
Margaret White,
Terry Brooks,
Sheena Kamal,
Matthew Quick,
JT Ellison,
Walt D. Williams,
Brad Ford, Corey, Dr. O,
Brandon Sanderson,
Robin Mock,
Ernest Klein, Jim Butcher,
Sherwin Harris.
Visit hankgarner.com for archives of all the shows. Today's guest is...
Well, thanks for joining me again for the Author Stories Podcast, where I bring you the story behind the stories and the storytellers. Today, I am super excited to have one of my favorite writers on the show with me today, Daniel Kenney, or you may know him as Daniel Carson. As Daniel Carson, he writes a fantastic cozy mystery series, the Hope Walker Mystery Series, one of my favorite mysteries that's kind of an ongoing thing. I love it. And an excellent series of about 480 kids books that you put out so far now.
Well, it seems like 480. It's a lot less than that, but yeah, it feels like a lot.
There's quite a few and quite a few series that you publish as Daniel Kenney. I love all of it that you do, and I'm super excited to have you back on the show today, Dan. Welcome.
Thank you, Hank. As always, I really appreciate you and everything you do for authors, and I appreciate you having me back. You are the best at what you do.
Well, thank you.
It's amazing. You're coming up on 1,000 episodes, right?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, this will be episode 996.
Wow.
So
Incredible.
Next week will be episode 1000. So I'm super stoked about it. And
that's awesome.
Pardon me. Well, I've got a bit of a late summer cold and getting a new cough drop. But I can't. It's crazy because every day I get to come here and talk to some of my favorite people on earth, authors, about books. And, and we were just talking a little bit beforehand, kind of the craziness that's going on in the world. This is the day after the election. But one thing that we can always count on are great stories that, can help us either avoid the world for a little bit or help us to process the world, however you want to look at that. But the last time we talked, you had just kind of cranked up this, the Cozy Mystery series, the Hope Walker series.
Yes.
And I know you've kind of closed out season 1, as it were, and starting a new leg of that. How's that going? And tell me a little bit about, going from a person who is kind of known as a kid's author, doing these great picture books and these, chapter books, and then kind of transitioning to this other passion that you have.
Yeah, no, it's been a great transition. It's a transition I've kind of done in the midst of another big transition in my life. So I was a stay-at-home dad for a number of years. But last year, my youngest son finally got to the age where he could go to school full time. So it was time for me to head back into the workforce. My training is as a teacher. So last year I started back full time teaching high school again after a number of years being out of it. So I kind of undertook the cozy mystery transition just as I was getting back into full time work. So it was a lot of new stuff. But in terms of the transition itself from writing kids' books to this other thing, I really wanted to write adult genre fiction. Cozy mysteries is where my heart was. I think if I was ever going to write something besides that, I was thinking about thrillers. But quite honestly, in a lot of the thrillers, there's a level of violence that, although I have no problem reading, I was struggling to think about how I would kind of do that as a dad and a husband. I wanted the kind of things that my wife could read, and she's pretty sensitive to violence. Yeah. And so I found something that in Cozy Mysteries that even though it was based on murder, the violence is off the page. You kind of think Hallmark mystery sort of thing. And so I dove right in, and I was really nervous at the beginning because I just didn't know if it would work. I didn't know if people would enjoy my stories, just that basic level of sort of author nervousness. But then more than that, as I looked around at the cozy mystery genre, quite honestly, most writers are women. Most of the cozy mysteries feature female protagonists. And I was really nervous about how I would be able to do. In fact, I'm in an author group with a bunch of really successful mystery writers. And I asked their advice. I asked if maybe I should go with a female pen name or maybe something that was a little less clearly a male name. And it was kind of a discussion because I just didn't know how it would go, but ultimately decided to go with a male pen name and just kind of own it and be who I was. And I've been really, really pleased with the reception that the series has received. My audience, people ask who my readers are. They're 98 or 99% female. My guess, yeah, right. Okay, so 99%, yeah. So they're mostly female. If I had to guess based on my interaction with my reader, they're somewhere between 45 and 55 years old is kind of a bell curve. And I've been really, really pleased that they've enjoyed the stories and enjoyed the series, and it's gone really well.
Well, I love the series because I'm a lot like you in that I love thrillers. I love a great mystery. I love stories that kind of meander and turn and keep me guessing. But while I don't mind necessarily a gritty story, I personally just like to have a break sometimes and to enjoy the story without feeling like I need to go take a shower afterwards.
Oh, I know it.
And I have grown kids. My youngest is 16 now. My oldest is 25, and so they're young adults. But I like to share books with them and talk story. And even though most of my kids are grown now, there are things I just don't want to. I don't want to talk about certain things with them. I want to share things that we can talk about later, and that these sorts of books give me that opportunity to do that. And I think that's completely worthy, and great to have. Did you have any trepidation well, of course you did, because you just talked about some of those things, but what deciding on a female protagonist, was that ever an issue for you? Like, how do you go about getting in the mindset to portray hope, and you do it so well? Like, are there any tricks that you do to kind of shift your writer brain?
Sure. And thank you. What's been really interesting about the reviews, and I know you're not supposed to read reviews, but I honestly am still at the point in my career where reading reviews helps me. I can spot, the weird review that you just kind of got to let, brush off your back. But for the most part, I can still learn how to become a better author by reading reviews. And I need to become better. I've got a long way to go. But one of the things that kind of consistently comes up is that women are often surprised that a man wrote this. Now, I did not go into this with that intention. I didn't go into this thinking I want people to be surprised. It just sort of has happened. So I don't really try again. And it's weird. Review after review that says, I thought about not reading this because it was a man, but then I was happily surprised how well he writes from a woman's perspective. And that's really nice. But I never go at it thinking I'm trying to write this from a woman's perspective. I simply try to write it from Hope's perspective. I simply try to write it from Katie's perspective, from Granny. So I just never think about it now from a woman's perspective. Now, my wife, now that she kind of knows that this has been some of the feedback, she thinks it makes a lot of sense, because she has always said that in our relationship, in some ways, I'm more of the girl in our relationship, which is always super flattering when your wife tells you that. But she has a point. I'm a little bit more romantic than her about some things. In some areas, I'm more sensitive, and although that isn't indicative of women per se, she's always noticed that there's just some differences. And then I think the big thing though is I had that experience of 8 or 9 years of being a full-time stay-at-home dad. I have 8 children, and that was one of the most eye-opening experiences of my life. I remember when my wife was doing most of the child rearing, there would be days that I would come home and I just wanted to kind of relax with her. And she would just be so nervous about trying to get everything kind of clean in the house. And I remember at the time thinking, you know what, you're just doing this because you like things clean. Just take a break. Let's just enjoy things. And she would always say, gosh, you just don't understand what it's like to run a house. And you know what? She was right. Because when it was my turn to finally have to do all of that, I realized how overwhelming it can be and how I needed to do just certain like bare minimum amount of stuff just to keep the trains on the tracks. And I guess what that did for me is it allowed me to see things from my wife's perspective, from a woman's perspective, in a way that I never had to before. And I think of all those experiences, the one that maybe stands out the most is with our 7th and our 8th child, with Fulton and Joshua. Because of the way our insurance and our financial situation was at that time, my wife had to go back to work, I think, on day 7 with Fulton and day 6 with Joshua.
Oh my!
So that was, and she said, she's like, listen, I don't want to be at the house. There's 100 kids in here. It's not like I'm gonna get any rest. She's like, this is a lot nicer for me if I can go to my office and just hang. But I think for me though, like I was raising these little tiny human beings for the first time ever, and really kind of like a mom would. It was an extraordinary experience for me. And so I think to the extent that I am able to write from a woman's perspective, I think most of it would maybe be just because I've been in this experience of having to sort of see things a little bit more from especially a mom's perspective.
So have 8 kids and be a stay-at-home dad. That's
how you do it.
That's how you do it.
Pretty simple.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, I mean it's the oldest advice in the book, Hank. Go have 8 kids and be a stay-at-home dad during the worst recession in our nation's history. That's how you do it.
Well, Dawn and I have 5 kids, and people roll their eyes at us.
Hey,
and
you know what we, Hank? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do you know what we call people like you?
Amateurs,
slackers. Yep, that's right. Sorry.
I was going to say that, then I look at you and I feel accomplished, and then I see you on Facebook and I just keep scrolling. Dan makes me feel like a loser,
like a piker, right?
I'm just a poser up here next to Dan. Oh man. So Dan, you're up to book 6 with Hope Walker now.
Yeah. How do
you and people probably get tired of hearing me say this, but I'm fascinated with beginnings, with how things begin and that sort of genesis moment of a project. When you're thinking of a new Hope book, and tell me if it gets easier because of when writing a series, because you kind of have the world built and characters in place. But what is that first thing that comes to you? Is it a plot idea, or is it, Hope needs to be in this situation and then plot comes out of that? Where does the story idea begin?
Yeah, with this particular series, I think as I explained in the last episode, when I conceived of the series, I wanted to think of a series that could go 15 to 25 books. So I had certain sort of milestones I wanted Hope to be able to make. And so I've always kind of had that in the back of my mind. And those milestones could be resolutions to large outside questions, relationships that aren't fully formed, certain big things I wanted to see happen that I thought were significant enough that they could sort of carry a series. So if you think about Longmire, especially as the television series kind of was unfolded, you had some of those kind of large outside questions. What exactly happened to Walt's wife? What's going on with the Connollys? What's going on with Jacob and the casino? So you have those kind of large things. So I wanted to kind of set myself up some of those large things. And so when I get to the next book, I kind of have to do two things. I do, number one, where are we at, in advancing towards answering that particular question. And so there's certain things that need to happen in this book. So for instance, I released book 6 in July, and that was the first book of the second season of the Hope Walker Mysteries. I think of them as 5-book seasons. And so I knew that in book 6, there was some broader questions out there, but I needed to introduce some new questions for the season. At the same time, I kind of look at how I'm approaching each mystery, and I don't want each mystery to be the same. And so I think that is actually a real benefit of doing mysteries, is that with each new book, I kind of look at the books around it and say, okay, I did a locked room there. I can't do a locked room again for a while. Or on this one, I had more of a monk approach. Like maybe she had a really good idea of who the person was, but she just couldn't figure out who did it. Right. And so I just try to kind of vary how I approach the mystery each time. And then I always think of, especially because these are cozy mysteries, like you always have to remember, how do you give your readers a chance to spend time with the people they're going to love? So Amanda M. Lee, and I hope you can have her on your podcast sometime. I don't think you have, but she is just unbelievable and amazing in the world of mysteries and cozy mysteries and witch cozy mysteries. And I've heard her say before that she always likes to have like a big dinner scene somewhere in her book. And she's like, I can't have a dinner scene that's too long, because that's where all of the people that my readers love get around the table. And that's part of why they're here in this book. So I kind of have to figure out what's the dinner scene for me in this book. What's the best vehicle for my readers to spend time with Hope and Granny and Katie in this book? And then I have enough to kind of go forward.
The Novel Factory Online is software for the serious writer. With features like notes that are automagically organized, that means no more drowning in piles of paper, notes, or spending hours organizing digital folder structures. The Novel Factory offers clear, obvious structures for noting down information about plot, characters, locations, and everything else relating to your novel. Innovative features like the roadmap take you from concept to finished novel. The roadmap is an optional step-by-step guide to writing a novel that takes you from the premise to final manuscript and beyond. It draws on tried and true, tested theory that lies behind the majority of best-selling novels and blockbuster movies. Access your writing anywhere. The web version of the Novel Factory can be accessed anywhere you have internet. So you can write your novel on the train to work, while walking the dog, or climbing a mountain. Just log in and all your drafts and notes will be at your fingertips. Go to novel-writer.com to see how this powerful software can unleash your creative side. Use code HANK2020 for 20% off. That's the Novel Factory.
Authors, I have a fantastic new service to tell you about. It's called PubSite. PubSite is a service to help you build your very own website your home on the web where you can promote your work and give your fans a place to connect with you. PubSite is a website platform that allows every author, regardless of budget, to have a great-looking professional website developed by the book marketing professionals at FSB Associates. PubSite is the new, easy-to-use DIY website builder developed specifically for books and authors. Whether you're an author of one book or 20, or a small publisher, PubSite allows you to build, design, and most importantly, update your website pain-free. No need to be dependent on a designer or webmaster to make a small but costly change to your website. Save the money and do it yourself. PubSite is the best platform for authors because it's a book-centric platform. PubSite was built just for authors and small publishers. Every design, feature, and layout is book-centric. They have customized designs for you to use. It's easy to build. No coding or HTML is necessary to create a stunning, professional-looking website with all the features you want. Get a custom domain name, yourname.com. It's simple to update. You can add all of your books, add a blog and a book tour, sell from any retailer, manage your email list and social media, and even do e-commerce. Build your website with a 14-day free trial, then pay just $19.99 per month, which includes hosting. And we offer packages starting at $499 to set up the website for you. Pub-site.com, the place to help authors find their home on the web.
Gotcha. I love this idea of the seasons, and that you say that each season is like a 5-book arc. What does approaching storytelling in that way, what does that allow you to do? And what maybe are some of the constraints that you bumped up against when kind of envisioning it in this way?
I think the only constraint is that sometimes, and I don't even know, this might just be me psyching myself out. I think the only constraint is sometimes it just takes me longer to get started on the next book because I feel like I really have to think it through correctly. And that might just be nonsense. That might just be the lizard brain trying to keep me, Stephen Pressfield, that might just be another form of the resistance trying to hold me back. I don't know that there's a ton of, bad things about it. In terms of the good things, it's really, really helpful because the way I approach my series is like it's television. You and I have talked about Longmire before, and
yeah,
I mean, I've enjoyed the books, but I thought that TV series was so well done.
Oh yeah,
just amazing, and I go back to it often. So, quite honestly, I want this to be a television series someday. And I know when you say that, it can kind of sound stupid to say it out loud, but golly, I mean, there's a lot of people a lot dumber than me who have put out really terrible TV shows into the world, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, there are just terrible shows. When you and I were little, the Fall Guy with Lee Majors was on television, and I never missed the Fall Guy. If you go back and watch that show, it's almost unwatchable. I mean, seriously, but for waiting for the scene when they get to be in the bathtub outside, other than that, like, it might be the worst written television show in history. Like, there are so many terrible examples of TV. So I just said from the beginning, gosh, why not have this be a TV show someday? So I always think about it in that context. How can I write this so that it works for TV? So my books are dialogue driven. I am not strong on narrative prose. I am not, going to knock your socks off with this description of this sunset. I'm not strong there. It's not a strength. I focus on keep it going, kind of think of it in terms of set pieces and relationships and dialogue. And that has really, really helped me as I go through this.
Well, and that kind of is what drives this genre, isn't it? I mean, that's what you want in these types of books. You want strong characters with great dialogue to keep the story moving. Like, I'm not looking for great descriptions of sunsets. I want to hear these characters.
No, that's exactly right. Because, it would be incorrect to say, I think sometimes people go back to Agatha Christie and Dorothy Sayers and draw a straight line from them to cozy mysteries. I'm not sure that's correct. I don't want to spend an afternoon with Poirot. I can never say his name right. I want to see how his mind solves the mystery. That's a clear whodunit, right? Yeah. I don't really like hanging out with him though. Cozy mysteries, to really nail the modern cozy mystery, you really do want characters that people, and oftentimes a setting that people want to revisit over and over again. A setting and characters that people love. And so you're right. I mean, it's character driven, it's dialogue driven, and yes, people want a good mystery, and if you can really knock their socks off, then that's icing on the cake. But I think in this genre, character and dialogue certainly comes first.
Well, let's talk about your writing process for just a minute, Dan, because with 6 books in this series out, many more planned, plus you're teaching during the day, and you've got 8 kids. I would imagine that your writing time is at a premium now as much as it ever has been. You probably, like me in a lot of situations, I just don't have 4 or 5 hours to just lounge in front of the computer and just, daydream about story. When I sit down, I need to kind of know what I'm going to do, even though I'm not a great outliner. That's not kind of my strength as a writer, but I do like to understand the story before I sit down. How do you approach it, and to make sure that you're getting the most out of your writing sessions?
Yeah, I mean, you and me, and I think, let's just be honest, most people just don't have a lot of time to write. So our time is precious. You and me are not the only people that are busy. Everybody's busy, right? The older you get, you realize everybody is busy. You just don't have much time, so it's precious, and you got to make it count. So what I do is I use plot points. I know what are the 5 or 6 things that I've got to accomplish in a book. And so I spend time thinking about those, and I just write them on a simple piece of paper that I keep in my pocket. Once I kind of have those plot points, then what I'll do is I'll spend just a little bit of time opening up a notebook and just writing out. For me in the mystery space, I have to write out the different suspects' names on a piece of paper. So I write them out on a piece of paper, and I just start thinking about possible motives. And once I have maybe those 4 to 6 plot points that I want to hit, once I have kind of thought through, like I told you before, kind of where am I at in the big story? What's kind of some of the fun little vehicles for characters. And then I have like 4 to 6 suspects, and I've thought about some of the motives. I usually don't know all of the motives, but if I can just get started, then I've got enough. And once I'm there, then I start writing. I think my biggest problem is I still continue to waste a lot of time. It is really, really easy for me to type Yahoo into my browser and just start looking through like every stupid Joe Rogan bought a new house in Austin. And I'm like, seriously? I gotta check out the photos in that. I mean, I really struggle at times with focus. So sometimes people say, oh, you got a lot done. That's incredible. And I sort of kick myself because I know there's just so much more I could get done. And this allows me to give you a quote that I wanted to give you, because I always want to be prepared for interviews. And I know I'm talking to somebody from the great state of Mississippi. So I need to know, are you an Ole Miss fan or a Mississippi State fan?
Mississippi State, 100%.
Okay, this is perfect. So I've got a Mike Leach quote for you. And of course, we all love the Pirate, and we love that he's at Mississippi State, and we hope it goes well. But in reflecting on the Alabama game the other day, he said something that I wrote down, and I loved it. It's very simple, but this is what he said. Mike Leach says, everybody can work harder than they think they can. Alabama, through their process, has learned and discovered that. And I really think that's where I'm at in the writing process. I have got to figure out how to work harder and more efficiently and waste less time and be more focused. Some of the great authors like Amanda M. Lee have figured that out. She's the Alabama of the indie writing scene. And there's a lot like her.
Right.
They have figured out how to just freaking sit down and get the damn work done. And I'm at a point now where I just have to figure that out. I've wasted enough time, and I've got to be more focused with my time.
So, as someone who has published quite a few books, and now with book 6 of the Hope Walker series out, and I know book 7's coming soon, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But does it become easier to write in this series as things are more established? You know, you've got a great cast of characters that we can depend on to come back. We've got a great setting. Does it get easier to get back into that mindset and to tell a story? Is it easier now than when you're just staring at a blank piece of paper where, one, the options are limitless, but then on the other hand, the options are limitless. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
The conundrum.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely easier to get started. But I think just kind of psychically, I have struggled a little bit the last 2 books, just being worried that they're not going to be good enough. Because I know I did the best I could at that first season. I was really happy with how that first season went. It went about as well, just from a story perspective, as I sort of envisioned at the beginning. And so I know it's easier to get into it now, but I'm also kind of worried at times. Boy, don't take my reader for granted. Make sure I do my best. And quite honestly, my life accelerates at such a pace that at times, it's really difficult. I submitted book 7 to the editor last week. And that last 3 weeks was hard. It was a lot of words and not a lot of time. And I had that thing kind of eating at me. Gosh, I did make sure this is good. Don't let your reader down. So that's been hard. But at the same time, I am starting fresh on another series, another cozy mystery series that I want to start releasing in the summer. And I'm a little bit paralyzed on that right now because I'm sort of going back and forth in terms of how I approach it. And I think to myself, wow, do I just do Hope Walker mystery, but different? Or do I do something very, very different? And having that blank page, at least right now, I'm finding to be a little bit paralyzing with this new series.
Do you feel like you've hit your stride though in cozy mysteries? Do you feel like there comes a point where you either get the feeling, okay, this is what I've been looking for. This is where I feel comfortable, where I feel like I fit in. And a lot of authors will try different genres because, I love science fiction. I love fantasy. I love thrillers. And I know I can't do all of those, even though I love to consume them. But there's something about finding that place that just fits for you. Do you feel like this is the genre where you've kind of found your niche?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have no idea if I'm ever going to be a big seller. I don't mean it like that, but in terms of a fit, and you said it perfectly, this is a great fit for me. It allows me to explore relationships. I do like murder mysteries, but ever since I started having children, I'm not really drawn to heavy violence.
Yeah.
But I love the tension in a murder mystery. I love to explore relationships. I love to try and be funny. I love sitting down and watching Hallmark shows, but they're just not funny. Like, they're never funny. I like them. I enjoy them. But I'm always thinking, man, why couldn't they just attempt to be funny? But I love, getting to do that. And so it really is a perfect fit for me. I would say the one thing I'll probably try at some point is some sort of, I think what's sometimes called women's fiction, but sometimes you might call it family fiction, where it's not mystery based, but it's relationship and kind of romance and family based. That would be the only other thing I would explore in the adult genre world. I think this is a great fit, and I can see doing this for a long, long time.
Oh, I love it. Your book 7 in this series comes out soon-ish. When can we expect to see it, do you think?
Yeah, David Gatewood sent me a brilliant picture yesterday of him dressed as a pirate finishing up edits on my book. And I just think that's got to be a good omen, right?
Right.
So it will go off to the next
either
editor.
that or he's become a Mississippi State fan.
That's right. That's got to be it, right?
It's got to be.
I mean, you've got nothing to root for in the state of Virginia right now. So that's right. So that's got to be a good sign. It'll go to the next editor next week, which means we're about 3 to 4 weeks from publishing it. And I'm really excited. It's called A Hopeless Valentine. I think it's good. I'm excited about it. I really enjoyed writing it. And I'm really excited about trying to get it to the finish line. You'll have to excuse me. I am still at school. I am a teacher. So hopefully that wasn't for my son. Yeah, go ahead.
You also put a box set out recently of the first season. Is that right?
Well, not the whole first season. I did the first 3 books. The first season is 5 books. And so I wanted to get people started with the first 3 books in the season, in the series. So you can get that box set. I put that out a month or so ago, and that's a great opportunity to get those first 3 books read and to try to cut your teeth and see if it's something you enjoy.
Excellent. We'll put links to those in the show notes.
That'd be awesome.
Dan, this has been so much fun chatting and catching up.
Thank you, Hank. As always.
We're going to send everyone to pick up the Hope Walker Mystery Series. I'll put links all in the show notes to make it easier for folks. Where can people find you if they want to dig into all of the fantastic stuff that you do?
Yeah, so if you go to, Facebook, author Daniel Carson or something like that, you'll find me. I think the best way is Amazon. I steer people towards Amazon. If you're interested in cozy mysteries, go to Amazon and search for Daniel Carson. If you're interested in kids' books, because I do write middle grade and picture books, then go to Amazon and just search for Daniel Kenney and spell it EY. We're the EY Kenneys, not the Ys.
Those losers that can't afford an extra E. Total losers. Dan, as always, it's so fun chatting, catching up. Love everything that you do. We're going to send everyone to see you. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Hank. You're the best. Good luck on episode 1000.
Do you want to get paid to write stories? Do you enjoy collaborating with other talented storytellers? Do you want to work completely remotely and set your own hours? Relay Publishing is looking for writers and editors to work on fiction projects across a range of genres, from thrillers to sci-fi, fantasy, and romance. The Relay process is extremely collaborative, in the same vein as a TV show's writer's room. If you're a story geek, then you'll be on a great team. There are 7 ghostwriting positions and 10 editing positions currently available. Please go to www.recruitment.relaypub.com.
That's www.recruitment.relaypub.com for more information on how to apply. Join a great storytelling team today. What Death Taught Terrence by Derek McFadden. Life is a journey. So is the afterlife. At the end of his life, Terrence McDonald must discover its meaning, or he'll be banned from the afterlife forever, and his soul will cease to exist. Join Terrence and those who love him on a poignant and unforgettable journey through a life at once wonderful and harrowing. Learn what Terrence learned. See what Terrence sees. By this provocative story's end, readers may even learn a thing or two about themselves. See why people are saying things like, Derek McFadden writes with an insight few can match. If you like the works of Mitch Albom, I think you'll find What Death Taught Terrence a worthy addition to your library, and the reading of it a life-affirming journey. I found the story immediately immersive, and it stuck with me long after I finished. What Death Taught Terrence by Derek McFadden, on sale now. Invasion Day, the first book in the They Came for Blood series by Scott Moon. David Osage is a dangerous man with a complicated past, but these days he's just trying to keep his head down, driving big rigs. One night he saddles himself with a hitchhiker, a nuisance who's more than she seemed, and that's when everything changes. No one was ready for an alien invasion. Death is raining from the sky, and the only questions left is, do you run, fight, or submit? For David Osage and his family, answering is as easy as giving the alien invaders the finger. Grab Book 1, Invasion Day, in the They Came for Blood series, and then follow it up with Book 2, Resistance Day, and Book 3, Victory Day. Available at Amazon.com.